quite, for some of you, probably quite a distance to cover. But I think that you'll find it really worthwhile. And we have here today the core of dCS team. We've got obviously David, the president of the company, and Andy, who runs all the science. We're with the team, of course, but he's at the head of and then we've even got this lovely lady that does all the PR and the marketing and wonderful thing. So we brought you up here to experience. You're the first people to experience Varèse in terms of press in Europe, because we were privileged, thanks to David, that to be the first ones to have the Varèse to play with. So I don't know how you want to structure this. Do you want Andy to talk first, or you want to introduce first the product?
No, I'll introduce us, and then, so, my name's David Stephen, MD of dCS. I've been with the company 16 years. Andy's been with the company 31 years today. It popped up. So I think you all know our background as a company, but started in radar, making converters, then moved into telecoms, broadcast, and then pro audio. So the first converters the company ever made were A to Ds, and then we made D to Ds to upsample, downsample, change formats, and then D to A's. We've been making master clocks for two plus decades. There's still some boxes at the BBC to keep the pips on time that we do. So there's a real, not me, but Andy and the team, a real deep knowledge of the entire signal path from recording right through to playback. And we've got a lot of proprietary knowledge that not many other companies have, because we do A to D, we do D to A, Andy's team develop their own filter responses, so everything we do is about measured performance. And back in 2010 it was, Andy, Chris and I remember we were having the chat, what kind of company do we want to be? Do we want to make technology and circuit boards for other people, or do we want to make products? And if we're going to make products, we've got to be all in. So they've got to look great, sound great, be reliable, measure the best, and that was what we went after. So Vivaldi was the first kind of flagship that we worked on together, and at the time it was really built around silver disc, right? So CD and SACD was still the primary medium, but we could see that computer audio was nascent, but it was coming up fast. So we had the foresight to put a USB and a network input on Vivaldi, and then everything grew from there. So it went from people ripping discs and putting them on servers to now what we have with streaming services and Apple AirPlay and all of that stuff. So testament to Andy and the team. I'm lucky to work with him and Chris and the engineers that we have, because they are absolutely top of their game. And Vivaldi's remained state of the art for 12 years, and that's through a succession of software and hardware updates, and that's something that's important to us. We recognise this as a big investment for people, and we want to give a return on that investment, but we also want to get the absolute most out of our platform. We don't want to flip products, we don't want to obsolete products, we want to get the maximum out of the hardware that we've built. And that's why I think Vivaldi is still cutting edge and still measures state of the art today. So when it came to Varèse, it was really, you'll probably agree, it was more like a blank sheet. We never really looked at trying to design a product or something for a price point in a market, do we?
No. So as David says, we set ourselves quite a high bar to clear in terms of being better than Vivaldi, and it's like, well, how the hell do we do that? And what exactly is this thing going to look like? Because as David says, Vivaldi when we launched, had a fairly primitive network board on it that we upgraded halfway through the life cycle, but to improve all the streaming stuff. So I remember when we did launch Vivaldi, standing in front of a room a bit like this and saying, well, yeah, everything's FPGA based, so we can offer all these updates. And at the time, people were like, well, yeah, but everybody says that, expansion sockets and stuff. but we've got like a really good track record of adding stuff to the things in the field, because the key thing that we have is flexibility, programmability, and we always like to, with a flagship like this, for example, have spare capacity in the thing in case we think of something quite cool to do later on. So yeah, I don't know if anyone knows the story, but Varèse, as it's now known, is rather late and took a lot longer, much more money than we thought when we started it. And
well, I think on that, so it's 5-6 years in development, but because of the way we develop technologies and products, there's a lot that's come from Varèse into existing dCS products. So Apex was an improvement to the analog stage of the ring DAC, and that came out of the Varèse project, and that, because we could realise that as a board change, that made its way into Bartok Rossini Vivaldi as an upgrade. Also the approach to mechanical design, so machining from a single billet, getting rid of kind of interpanels and standoffs and all of that stuff, and making the chassis a kind of heat sink and totally inert. We piloted that in Lena, and then we were able to kind of realise it in a much bigger form factor in Varèse. Likewise, the Lena circuit board, which I think was a first in audio, is like a 4-point flex rigid PCB. The Varèse core has a 9 points of flex, which all wraps around the chassis. So there was a lot of work going on on the Varèse project that then made its way into the existing product. But I think really it started with the DACs, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it always starts with us, is like, right, you know, Andy and his team are focused on measure performance first and foremost. So what can you do? What can you improve? So the differential mono DACs was probably what it was all built around, wasn't it?
Yeah, so as David says, we're a DAC company first and foremost, and so we started making other stuff because we realised that the DAC's only as good as the stuff you feed it, right? And so when you start going, right, okay, you know, where is Vivaldi showing its age, and where it's showing its age is in terms of the I/O bandwidth through the thing. The analog stuff, we realised that if you had proper, and you know, people say like dual mono architecture, you know, we have 2 bloody DACs in different boxes, right? Then that gives you some benefits, and actually the more kind of you delve into it with our particular architecture, it's really, really, really actually helpful and beneficial. But then from that, you've got to, well, how the hell do we you know, resolve these bandwidth limitations and have 2 DACs and keep them in sync? And that means that then you have to do quite a lot of work to create something like the core. And this sounds like really obvious when you say it, but then you how do you test the DAC if you haven't got a core? How do you make a core if you haven't got a DAC? And so, well, you have to come up with ingenious solutions and crazy stuff. And so the DACs, for example, the prototypes, we had to have a really horrible jerry-rig thing in the listening room with basically a VPP.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll interject there. So like, the first listening test we ever did was Andy and the team wheeling in 2 circuit boards on trolleys that had and it was essentially the DAC boards of the 2 DACs here, but they had an AES socket stuck on them, and they were being fed data from a Vivaldi upsampler. But even from that, you're like, wow, we can hear something here. You're onto something. And I think that gave us the foolishness, the confidence, I don't know what it was, to keep going. But then, as Andy says, it's like, right, how do you, if you've got these mono DACs, right, and we get 6 dB better noise, 12 dB better linearity. With mono DACs, you get infinite crosstalk. So all these technical improvements that lead to what you're hearing, but it's like, right, how do we keep them in perfect sync? So that was one massive challenge for Andy and the team. And then the other one was the high-speed interface between all the boxes. So I don't know if you want to talk about how we keep them in sync first.
Yeah, so as I say, we needed. So AES is great in terms of it's self-clocking because it uses a single differential Manchester encoding, so you get like a legal code that keeps you in sync. The problem with AES is you're limited to 192k per wire reliably. You get this thing called data-induced jitter because the illegal codes are influenced by the audio, and it's got very low latency. So it's like as simple as you can get. So if you want to use something with higher bandwidth, those things tend to have variable latency. They tend to variable latency is the key thing. You can't really transmit a clock along them because the clock is quantized with whatever the high bandwidth thing you're using is. So we had to again come up with this thing called Tomix. See, I can't keep the branding here. And so basically, Tomix is a rather nifty thing. So if you imagine a square wave, the rising edge of the square wave is this is the point in time now we want to do some conversion. The falling edge is kind of cunningly modulated to tell you what time it is, right? Because the problem is that you got the two DACs. The two DACs have to agree not just when now is, but what sample that relates to. So they have an elastic buffer in them. They agree what time it is, so they can then perfectly correlate themselves. Because they only ever use the rising edge for the clock, there's no data on it. The timing structure is scrambled in such a way that it can't show up in the phasor loop. And that was a real relief when it worked, because that was one of the things where, well, there's no point making mono DACs if you can't keep them in sync and low jitter.
That to me is like the genius in what Andy and the team do, where other people have used Ravenna, AS67, Dante, or they just have two mono DACs and accept that there's a little bit of clock drift, but that's not how we do it. So it took a lot longer, but I think the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. So that was one of the major technical challenges, was actually just getting the bloody DACs to align.
And then so that was one of the technical challenges. Once we knew these mono DACs were a real thing, and sonically we're doing something special, we then, how do you solve the clock and timing issue? But the next thing was the interface. So Andy talked about AES EBU having some limitations. So it wasn't just technical and data rate limitations, but for us it was complexity. So we'd found over the years that a lot of our support requests and some people, Vivaldi 1 was hugely successful for us because it was one box and it was simple and it was easy to use, and audio can be quite difficult for some people to set up and configure and get the best out of it. So we wanted to make something that was way more accessible and much easier to use, much easier to set up, and ultimately more reliable. And that was where we looked at, right, we currently have 5 AES EBU cables going into a system, 5 BNC cables, network. There's a plethora of cables there. How can we simplify that? And that was where the Actis interface came about. So it stands for Audio Command Timing Unified System. But I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about just what we did there and what the advantages are.
So as David says, something like 30% of our customer support calls are all because people have miswired it or misset up or something. That's clearly not ideal. So if you take the concept of you put everything in one wire, then you can't get it wrong, right? So that's pretty attractive. And so the system is effectively, you've got distributed intelligence throughout the system because everything's connected together via a high-speed bus. So they can all kind of talk to each other and agree what they're meant to be doing. And so it's seamless in terms of your touch points all work the same way no matter what you're doing, and it's all really quick and really responsive. But again, we need to put all these different things in one wire. How do we do that? And again, that was about 2 years of effort just to make the bloody wire, because you have clocks in there that can inside the cable have crosstalk. You can have so you have to carefully match the impedances. I mean, the advantages are is that so we make the cables ourselves currently, and the connectors are made by Limo.
Yeah.
And so that means that we have absolute control over the wire, the connector. It's all everything is us, and so that's really handy in terms of as I say, impedance matching and all that sort sort of stuff, and reliability, and
Yeah, and that cable can run anything up to 100 metres in length. So again, in terms of how the system's set up, DACs could be next to the amps, the core could be someplace else, so it gives you a bit more flexibility there too.
yeah. So it's actually been a bit of a challenge internally, just explaining to our own sort of team. It's not really like a Vivaldi anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got DACs and a thing that does DSP and stuff, but it's really, really not at all like a Vivaldi. And that's
So in terms of what it is, right, and what it's doing, the hub of the system is the network core, right? So that has a network in, a kind of USB in for peripheral devices, but the other big thing that we did here was we've made it modular. So there's expansion modules on the rear. There's a module that will be shipping in January that has AES CBU inputs. It has RCA input, RCA output, word clock, USB. So that kind of deals with legacy sources, disk transport, servers. But there's capacity to add more expansion slots to that. So this does all the noise shaping, filtering, oversampling, and sends the data to the mono DACs. You've got the master clock. So again, I think the intrinsic jitter performance of the system outperforms a Vivaldi without the clock. The clock can be added in. So this clocks the core, and then the core sends over the one Actis cable, audio, command, everything else to the other pieces. And then the other thing is this. So we call this a user interface, but it's a little bit more than that. So that's your window to the system, and part of this again was like, we really studied dCS owners and then just people that use high-end systems. We looked at all the major streaming services and we kind of counted the number of steps and swipes and clicks to get to music. So the big thing was like, get to music fast. How quickly can you walk into the room and just get to music, and get to music you love? So this has some browsing capability where you can immediately get to where you left off, to your favourites within your streaming service. So it doesn't have full search, because then you need a keypad and all of that, but it can get you to your music from various sources very, very quickly. It will do volume, you can toggle through, I'll show you, and it will give you the play queue, the signal path. So this gives us a huge amount of flexibility. It puts everything in one system, and part of that again was like, it's about the music at the end of the day. That's what we've always been about. Don't add colour, don't embellish, when you don't have to. What can you strip away? So that's why we took all the displays away, we put them all in one powerful flexible box, and that's your window to the system. Got a Bluetooth remote. So again, this works seamlessly with this, where you can toggle between preset signal paths, you can configure this button to be wherever you want, you can tell the UI to do different things. This also does the Google Cast, the Apple AirPlay, and it's got UPnP renderer in there.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of capacity for expansion and upgrade in the future. And that's pretty much it. So yeah,
Let's go to the music then.
1 to 0 is at the music.
Actually, I'm going to slide you like this. But as I say, I'm because we work very closely, David and I, and Hannah was the first one to experience personally in my own environment, my known environment, my studio, Varèse. I had been to the factory, but there's nothing like having your own solo experience. And for many years, obviously, I've been looking for, changes and upgrades, but I was never prepared for this one. Really never prepared for this one. And the analogy I made live that time was that I'm in Monaco. I'm in the pits of the Ferrari pits, and then the Ferrari driver's gone missing, and they said jump in the cockpit and go. And the experiences were probably, in terms of sensual experiences, the same. They were all different things. All my ways of evaluating gone away. The only thing to realize is that I was really with the music, in the music, without any colors, and to a level, and you'll hear it on many things today, to a level that we're not used to. Meaning voices suddenly take another human dimension, and I don't like to use this audiophage or human illusion of the, but really you can feel the recording much more than a colored system that would be pleasing to the ear but might not have this level of accuracy. The beauty with Varèse is that it does both. It's extremely musical, and I hope you'll hear it today, and at the same time it reveals engineering and the way it was a lot more than what we experience in the digital world. So of course we can access, as David said, all the services, but today, because I'm not familiar too much, I'm using an external server, but that's going through UPnP into the system. So it's a very flexible situation. So I'm going to start with a little bit of, I'm going to walk you through different parts of the music world, and hopefully, how do I get back here? David, help me.
Oh, sorry,
get to the beginning of the
was
track.
messing around.
Beginning of the track, how do I get back? Okay. Fantastic. Okay, and now do I get back to where was it originally?
Are you on the right input?
Yeah, I'm sure I am. But it's still scrolling. Okay. I can try something else, yeah, and then go back to the one, yeah?
Yeah, just play
This
that.
is. Sorry about that.
What's this distance here?
Okay, let's find that.
You had your preamp on
No,
there.
something else.
Okay.
It's gone to something else. Okay, now. composition by Rameau, by the musiciens du Louvre. So a very good interpretation of it. Going to move to another type of music so that you can experience different things.
The very thought of you, and I forget to do the little ordinary things that everyone ought to do. I'm living in a kind of daydream. I'm happy as a king, and foolish though it may seem to me, that's everything. The mere idea of you, the longing here for you. You'll never know how slow the moments go till I'm near to you. I see your face in every flower, your eyes in stars above. It's just the thought of you, the very thought of you, my love.
I hope that without suggesting you now hear what I mean by the human touch of the voice and the string. I love these Capitol strings. You remember, Ralph? That's Capitol Recordings. They had these sort of very warm strings and ensemble. And the way this system transpires, it's unbelievable. So I'm going to go to another style again.
It's the
Oh,
outside.
good.
Sounds like a digital noise.
One of the
because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp, turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stared by the flash of a neon light, split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never shared. No one dared disturb the sound of silence.
So now I'm going to move back into the UK. Do you remember Deep Purple, anybody? So those that don't want it too loud, I'm going to have to show you as well how this thing can play. told that there's a guy from Deep Purple that doesn't live very far from here. Maybe
We
we
heard
should
it.
call him because he hasn't heard it like that in at least 30 years. You know.
Hear it from home.
He used to run a concert he used to run like a concert or a little festival every year. Lives in Gransden, like 10 minutes away.
Which one?
I can't remember his name. Who it is.
So now I'm going to play you an artist I discovered recently, because this is what Varèse did to me, and I must say my server as well, the Oladra, is that you want to discover more and more and more. So a friend of mine played that to me over the phone, over YouTube, and I said, I like that, and so I got... It's funk jazz, so it's like 70s jazz. Recommend you get this music. The album, forget it. It's a £1,500, £2,000 album, so forget it. But it's available on CD between £10 and £30. None of the streaming services offer it. Actually, I think Spotify offers it, but the Qobuz and Tidal, it's a little bit too far-fetched for them. And so I really recommend it because it's and it's in a little club in Norway in the 70s, and it's the whole album is just like from beginning to end. You have to listen. And his name is Webster Phillips. So did I spell his name correctly? Because I only got it recently.
So where
Webster Lewis, exactly.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, in terms of like technically what Andy and the team did, so we've got infinite crosstalk now, lower noise floor, better linearity, improved the clocking, timing, so it's just all coming together to present what you're hearing.
Yeah. It's a new experience, and it really is a new experience. It's even for blasé people that have done it for years, it's a new experience.
It just shows you, like, you know, the music's there on the recording, kind of always has been. So every time, and not just us, I mean, we work closely, you know, get a good synergy with a lot of these products, and sometimes they make an advance or they do something new, and then you hear a little bit more what you're capable of. So you kind of spur each other on. But yeah, it's amazing what some of these.
That was produced in the 70s.
Exactly.
Sounds so.
Yeah. And that's some of these have been 1644-1 recordings. Just so.
back in time more. In terms of recording, obviously the Stabat Mater was all this.
Known only to him are the great hidden secrets. I'll fear not the darkness when my flame shall dim. I know not what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. It's a secret known only to him. In this world of fear and doubt, on my knees I ask the question, why a lonely heavy cross I must bear? Then he tells me in my prayer, it's because I am trustworthy. He gives me strength far more than my share. Known only to him are the great hidden secrets. I'll fear not the darkness when my flame shall dim. I know not what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. It's a secret known only to him. Only to
The next piece, I could not listen to it on any of my systems before, and it's a Yardbirds track in the studio on a breadboard recording. So it's a late 60s Yardbirds track, you know. So, as you can hear, it's like traveling through time and having the privilege of listening to these tracks in a way that I think just maybe 1% of 1% people can hear, you know. So, thanks to Varèse, we are in a new dimension. So now I'm going to put you a little soundtrack. You all heard it maybe one time or the other. They probably never liked this. I mean, a soundtrack that we all know in another dimension. So now I'm going to play you a track which I think is gonna all maybe touch you one way or another. One of the audio legends of the 70s, late 70s, or even early 70s, was a gentleman called Mark Levinson. You probably all heard about him. He's made lots of companies, lots of errors, etc. And amongst one of his chapters in life was a passionate affair with Kim Cattrall from Sex and the City. So, and they even produced some naughty videos of their acts and all this sort of thing. But then suddenly I came across a very sweet recording of Mark on bass and her singing. So I'm going to play you that. It's Kim Cattrall and Mark Levinson.
All in the town were still asleep. When the sun came up with a shout and a leap, in the lonely streets unseen by man, a little dog danced as the day began. All his life he'd been good, as far as he could. And the poor little beast had done all that he should. But this morning he...
Oh, sorry.
By Odin and Thor and the canine Valhalla, he'd stand it no more. So his prayer he got granted, to do just what he wanted, prevented by none, for the space of one day. Yamin kipiebo, sedere facebo, in dog Latin he quoth, Uge, Savis, hooray! Well, he winked at all the she-dogs and bit all the he-dogs. That town never knew.
There you go, a bit of Kim Cattrall and Levinson. Cute, isn't it? Cute little track. So this is a pure commercial track from my favorite soul band of all times. And they were very underrated, is the Isley Brothers. They're responsible for, they're big influencers. A lot of people became much bigger on the back of them, like Al Green and all these people. But it's one of my all-time soul favorites. Well, 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 yeah. Sometimes I always, the network is okay.
My heart tells me this is just a fling. Yet our love means everything. Do you mean what you are saying? Or is this a little game you're playing? My heart tells that I will cry again. Lips that kiss like yours will lie again. If I'm fool enough to see this through.
And David, bravo, to bring back this the way it's brought back to us. It's like unbelievable. Now I'm gonna put you a little classical piece. Finish this session with a little session.
This is a mystery object.
With McHarg in New York, a little
I have
group
great
of people.
pleasure in revealing this. This is the original Elvis Presley bass. Exactly. This is the one. This is the bass. If you, those Elvis fans amongst you will recognise this little dashing white trim. That is on all the early album covers. It was played by Bill Black, Elvis's bass player, and I always love to imagine that Bill would be here and Elvis would be standing right there. Yeah. Anyway, one of the stories I heard about this bass was that in the early days, Elvis, Scotty Moore, his guitar player, and Bill Black used to work as a trio, and they would be working locally in Tennessee, places like that. So you have to imagine, beautiful starry night, going along the interstate, Elvis driving, Scotty Moore and Bill Black, and this little baby strapped to the roof rack. Well, since my baby left me, I found a new place to dwell. It's down at the end of Lonely Street, it's Heartbreak Hotel. You make me so lonely, baby. You make me so lonely. You make me so lonely, you could die. Well, if you...
Anyway, I think we've had a good session now. if you have any questions now, let me know. I try to travel as much the world as possible. There's other places I didn't go, but I'm sure you've seen that there was a lot of work, or you heard there was a lot of work that went into this gigantic product. Gigantic in size, but gigantic in performance as well. It makes D2A life a new life. That's my humble opinion, yeah. It's another dimension in everything, and as I say, you probably heard there's on the voices, on the instruments, there's more than we expected to be there. So at the beginning it can be, I never heard that, but that's because we're in that level of high technical performance that we never had before. And it makes you think again the whole playback and how important sources like that can do to a good system, you know. I think that a lot of people that people can afford will definitely aspire to and get the Varèse as a step up from I would say probably only the Vivaldi, because in my humble opinion there's very few contenders, if any, at that level. There's obviously a lot of people in the domain of 5 to 10,000 region, but as soon as you get to Lina, I think it's genuinely difficult to compete, if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 or 3 companies who do some clever stuff. But,
there are, of course.
But we've got, I mean, I think the team on this was 15 to 20 people across software, hardware, mechanical, app, network.
Wow.
And that's multiple years, you know, and like Andy, they're all at the top of their game. And we're in total control of the signal path. Other people who use DAC chips and they're limited in what they can do.
Is everything made in the UK?
Yeah. So in terms of
chips
the
and everything else.
The metalwork is billet and slab is sourced from Europe. It comes in, and actually the 4 machine shops we use are all Ely, St Neots. They're all within a 25-mile radius.
From where?
Within a 25-mile radius of Cambridge.
Oh, Cambridge,
Yeah.
right. So Cambridge is the
Yep, that's where the factory is. So all the metalwork comes in. It's all machined close by. Anodizing's done in the UK, and then on the electronics, the bare boards will obviously come from Asia. But then the boards being populated is done here in the UK, UK contract manufacturers. So again, we have to develop all the test jigs for them so that they can test the boards. Everything comes to dCS, and then we do all the assembly, the build, the test, the loading of the software, and then the shipping. So it's some of these suppliers, I mean, the whole flex rigid PCB, there's only 4 machines in the UK that can do that currently, and fortunately we were working with one of the companies that has that. So I think there's a bit of where they might, you know, they're working in aerospace and F1 and medical and other stuff, and you get an idea from somewhere and then it filters into what you do. So yeah, we work with some top people, all UK suppliers. The only components really is the mechanism for the CD players, and the CD players comes from Japan, and the CD player comes from Europe.
So the CD player.
There is a transport coming for this.
Where's the transport?
March 2025.
And who makes that?
That's D&M, make the mech.
Yeah.
And that's the same transport that we use in Vivaldi transport, Rossini transport. There's not many of them left now.
I know. I've been writing about this.
Yeah.
It's doing my head in. It
Yeah.
really is. There's
Yeah.
some crap stuff out there at the moment.
Any other questions for Andy or I?
No, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, yeah, if you think of anything, obviously just fire it to Tim or Ricardo and we'll answer it.
Can you play one thing, just for me?
Okay.
I don't know whether you're online.
Do you want to play the Varèse piece as well?
I'd love
after
to play
that?
the
Yeah.
Varèse.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Varèse in a minute. I'm Janine Elliott. So if you just type Janine Elliott,
Okay.
because I've got my own studio, so I know what my sound's like,
Okay.
and I just want to hear, and it'll be crap for you. I do apologise. It's an album called Boxed In, which should be on
2 T's?
2 L's and 1 T. I wasn't thinking about that. I don't know why. It's called Boxed In, the album. Track like Vertigo or something like
Okay.
that.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. Okay. Right. Vertigo.
That's good to have an AB.
Is it reaching?
If it'll be there. Oh, there it is.
No ups and downs, just round and round. My head just makes me ache for ground. My horizontal hold stops me being bold. This boat is bound for solid ground. Whilst life will have its ups and downs, I can't escape this swirling town. Must shoulder this with head held straight. Must take it easy, they'll have to wait. Careless walks long before old age hobbles. I feel safe, like a homeless waif. I'm lost within my life's an endless spin. Must take it on the chin, 'cause I just can't win. Just give me a break, wish this was fake. Can't pass a single day without suffering.
Just do the first track.
Yeah.
Just a bit of it, middle bit or something like that. Just want to hit the vibe.
No ups and downs, just round and round. My head just makes me aim for ground. If I could just
You nice it.
I keep my thoughts inside the box. I keep it there beside the clocks that count the seconds going by. Relive my past. I wonder why. I thought would change the past I had. It might be good, it might be bad, but all that bad to find the good. I never thought it would. I keep my thoughts inside the box. I keep it there beside the clocks that count the seconds going by. Relive my past. I wonder why. Keep the box shut tight for now. Think the view that your mind allow, and all the past will not be lost. Just let it die like winter frost.
How's that?
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because I know when I sing, I've got a bit of a thing in it, and it was just interesting how accurate it was actually from what
okay.
I've, you know. Because that's the thing. If you,
I hate watching myself back. You know, like, oh, that's never.
Yeah,
Same thing.
yeah,
I hate
yeah.
my voice.
I know. No, thank you
That's
for
good,
that.
thank you.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
You ready?
Let's see this Varèse, yes.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to get one at home one day, yeah?
Oh gosh, well, I have to rob a bank first.
No,
Can
but
you
I'm saying
recommend-
but for auditioning.
Yeah. This is Varèse,
Yeah.
and it's the most extraordinary chord.
Oh, is it Varèse the
Vivaldi
composer?
Flagship for it.
It's extraordinary, it's just a profession. This could be your signature. It's crazy.
Let's get a bit of air.